All right. Welcome, everyone, to the first ever live stream from AutoCrit in support of our first ever community writing challenge. I hope everyone's energized. I love what I'm seeing in the community and all the buzz. So welcome, everyone. I'm Beth from AutoCrit. We also have Ally Machate from the Writers Ally, who will be coming up momentarily. But first, wanted to kick it off with just some FAQs around the challenge itself, hopefully get some more clarity. I know there have been lots of flurry of questions this morning, so hopefully we can address some of those and get you guys off to a great start on this, the first day of the challenge. So thanks for joining us. As you can see, the Writers Challenge is all about stay home, write stories, and most importantly, win prizes. Am I right? We're living in just the weirdest of times. Things are nuts. Can I just say that? So a lot of us staying home, but there's no reason that has to in any way hinder our creativity, our support of one another, and our fun, right? So we've got some great prizes available to you. We're going to take 14 days and write a short story, around 5,000 words. So especially for our novelists in the group, this might be a bit of a stretch, which I love, right? You've got to get that whole story arc into a really condensed short story. So it's going to be really exciting. We're also going to be hanging out in the AutoCrit author community, which is our Facebook group, and then sharing information via email as well for those who may not use Facebook. So come on in, join us, have fun. And P.S., I mentioned those prizes you can win. AutoCrit memberships, book cover design by Book Baby, professional, the deluxe package. Guys, this is serious stuff. You also will have the opportunity to submit your story to us. We have a juried panel that's going to be reviewing the short stories that are submitted, and we're going to pick 10, the top 10, to be published in a printed, limited run anthology that is only available to the authors of those 10 stories. So that's kind of a big deal. So we're pretty excited about that. Little more information about FAQs. The length of the story is a short story, so somewhere between a comic strip and a novella, around 5,000 words. Seems appropriate. We did some math because one of our founders is an engineer and he likes math. And we're thinking 10 days of writing, 500 words a day, gets you around 5,000 words, making sure, as AutoCrit for sure would like you to do, that you reserve time for editing. So 5,000 in terms of genre, topics. Hopefully everyone received those 120 writing prompts that we were able to share with you, and something in there sparked your interest, or as some people have mentioned, several somethings in there. So create a mashup, do your own thing, right? We'd love for you to find inspiration in those prompts, but hey, if you already had an idea bouncing around, now's the time to get it out on virtual paper. So you can write about any genre, any topic, anything you wish. As we move forward through the competition over the next 14 days, we'll be sharing more details about how and when to upload your submissions. For now, just think about standard formatting, standard manuscript formatting. Maybe I'm better at writing than speaking. So a Word doc, an RTF, a PDF, whatever you use to write, as long as we can upload it later on in our online system, and we'll be sharing more details about that. Also, if you're so ambitious and so productive that you wind up writing several stories in the 14 days, hey, it could totally happen. Please only submit one for the jury panel to review. Pick your favorite. You have a favorite in there. So please only submit one, your favorite or your best one, and that'll be great. You can also submit under a pen name or a pseudonym, as long as we still know who you are behind the scenes and can let you know when you win that prize. So, secret codes. Let's get to the good stuff. Am I right? Secret codes. Every day in the community and via email, we're going to send out a secret code. When you see that code, and it'll be posted front and center in the group, along with some questions, we love to stir up conversation. Take that code, go back to the same page that you used to register for the event. Don't worry, the link will be online as well. And type that code in, and every single day that you do that, you'll get an extra entry. So for Billy, who only signed up and he got that one entry and then he didn't do those secret codes, he's only got one entry. For Susie, who signed up and got that entry, then went back every single day, she's got like 15 entries. So more chances to win the prizes that we'll be drawing for, and those are around Amazon gift cards, AutoCrit memberships, etc. So hopefully that kind of addresses some of the FAQs. These are posted in our community as well. But if you have a question, pop in there, yell out AutoCrit, and somebody, it's me, that somebody is me, will help you out for sure. Hi, Dorothy, we see you. Yes, you're on. So I know people that have been active in the community today have experienced this. And, you know, it wouldn't be a first event if we didn't have some sort of technical problem. When technology works literally every day, things are working fine. On launch day, the most bizarre things will go wrong. So I made a little graph because that's how we roll. Everything is good now. We did have some hiccups online with the registration form. It showed that it was closed, and I thought, boy, that was the fastest 14 days ever, but we got that fixed. So we should be back in business. The link to confirm your entry, to put in those secret codes, all online. Again, in the community, yell out AutoCrit, let us know. We will get you fixed up. Also, that cat, that's my assistant. He's doing a great job. When you go to enter your secret codes, it should look like this, right? So you're registered and you got the check mark, and then today's secret code +1 per day. Every day you'll see that. When you submit it, it will say, great, you can enter again, enter another code in X number of hours. It's 24-hour clock. So just be sure to visit every day and get that, get those prize entries going, because you want to make sure you have as many entries to win as you can. So without further ado, I am going to hand it over to Ally Machate, who is from the Writers Ally. And yes, we're all learning, like, it's Ally and Machate, not Machete. So please give a warm, warm welcome to Ally, who's going to share some tips and tricks with you as you get started on your short story challenge and run through these 14 days with us. Ally, take it away.
All right. Everyone can hear me. Beth, you can hear me. I'm good.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. So, hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you all and so excited about this challenge. This is super fun. So thank you for your time and your attention. And, you know, challenges like this, yes, they are fun, but they're also a really amazing opportunity to push the limits of what you believe is possible for yourself. Right? So if you've ever done a similar challenge, like NaNoWriMo is a very popular one, obviously that is for a full-length novel at 50,000 words, but you also have a full month to do it, so a little more difficult. This is a great place to start if you've ever been eyeballing a challenge like that. But the thing about a challenge is that it only really has the most benefit for you if you fully commit. Right? If you say like, oh, I'm going to sign up for this challenge, and then like halfway through the week you realize, oh, I need to start writing, you know, you probably won't finish, you won't get the most out of it. We want to make sure you get the most out of it. So here are some tips to help you ensure your success. So first, as Beth touched on, you want to commit to writing every single day. Right? Even if it's a little bit. The very rough math is about 500 words per day to meet the 5,000 word limit, assuming you're writing for 10 days and then leaving 4 days at least to revise. What that looks like for you, you know, mileage may vary, but the point is you are going to want to write every day or revise every day. You want to be working for the full length of the challenge to really make sure that you finish and you're able to revise your story to submit it for that great contest. Accountability is really important in a challenge like this. So I encourage you to announce your intentions. And that can be done in a number of ways. That might look like posting on your Facebook page that you're participating in this challenge to let your friends know. It might mean simply telling your friends and family, your spouse, your loved ones, etc. Telling people, making a public or semi-public announcement will increase your chances of success for a very simple reason. you're going to feel a little embarrassed if you don't finish, if you don't complete it. So by telling people you're participating in this challenge, it will help you emotionally to commit, to make sure that you put that butt in the chair every day and get that writing done. But there's another reason that it's really important to let people know you're participating in this challenge. Don't be afraid, oh, what if I don't finish? What if I don't win? Whatever. Don't worry about that. What's most important for you is that you rise to that challenge you've set for yourself. Getting your family, your children, your roommates, whatever, on board also will really help you to protect your writing time. Unfortunately, we're not living in an environment where you can leave the house and go write in your favorite library or quiet cafe. You have to make that space for yourself at home. And a really big piece of that is getting whoever you live with on board to help you protect that writing time. So it might mean that your partner helps out with chores a little bit more, takes over some of your chores perhaps to give you that space and that time that you need to write. Or maybe it means just helping your kids to understand that for a half hour every day or an hour every day, mommy or daddy or whoever is going to be undisturbed. Do no playtime, no problems, go bother the other spouse, whatever, during that writing time. So it's really important to get everybody on board. And it's only 2 weeks after all, right? It's not a huge ask, but it is really important to explicitly ask for support if you really want to make sure that this challenge is something you can engage with and complete. I also encourage you to designate a writing space and to make it yours. You might have favorite motivational items or notes that you can sort of decorate and put around the space. Make it comfortable, make it someplace you can sit and be in for a little length of time. Ideally, it's going to be someplace quiet where you won't be disturbed. The best, of course, is if you have a home office or someplace where you can shut the door, but not everybody has that kind of space. So if you don't have a separate area in your home that's already yours that you can, literally shut the door to make sure you have privacy and quiet, then whatever space you designate, again, get your roommates, family, etc. on board. Make sure they understand when I'm sitting in this space, I am not to be disturbed. And make a little sign or a symbol of some kind, right? It might literally be a little piece of paper that you tape on the back of your chair that says writing in progress. It might be a sock, on the doorknob, on the chair, whatever. And get your family on board so they understand when they see that symbol, you're not to be interrupted. And give yourself permission to have fun. Right? That you don't want to take it too seriously. I mean, we all want to win prizes, you want to win the challenge, you want to get published, totally get all of that. But you want to have fun with it too, right? And one of the keys to that, and one of the keys to making sure you finish in this short period of time, is to not edit as you write. So Stephen King has a very famous book called On Writing, which I highly recommend if you've never read it before. And one of the many wonderful tips from that book is this idea that when you're writing, you want to try and get momentum. You don't want to kill that momentum by stopping to go look up a word in the dictionary or to try to figure out the finer details of some scene that needs to happen, but you haven't really imagined it yet. So what you do is, as you're writing, when you hit a point where you don't really know what's going to happen, but something has to happen, or if there's a word you need to look up or a detail you need to research to make sure you have it right or what have you, instead of pausing, simply put parentheses or brackets and make a little note to yourself, like insert fight between protagonist and mom here, or look up word that means blah, blah, blah. So something that when you go back to it will remind you what you were trying to do without interrupting you in that moment. You want to just keep writing, get the words on the paper, get the draft so that you can then go back and revise it later. I highly encourage you to use at least the full first week to write your story, to get it all out. If you work faster than that, by all means, move on to revising. That you certainly don't have to do it 1 week and then 1 week. My point is just, you don't want to keep stopping yourself from finishing the draft by going back and getting mired in edits and revising so that you have like a perfect first page, but then you never actually write the ending. That's what we don't want to have happen. Okay, so that's mindset, getting prepared, getting ready. let's talk about some practical aspects, of writing a short story that will help you get started in how to think about this challenge if you've never written a short story before. So first, I want to just briefly touch on the difference between a story and a sketch, because this is something where a lot of people get hung up on when they try to write in the short form. A story's most basic definition is that it tells of something that happened to somebody. All right, I want you to keep that in mind. Something that happened to somebody. A sketch is static, like a time capsule or a description of a moment. And many times people will write these beautiful, emotional, detailed stories that are essentially actually character sketches because nothing happens, right? It's just a description of this character in this moment. A sketch is static. A story is dynamic. There is always going to be action that reveals change in the character's status in some way as he or she journeys from the very first sentence to the last. Okay? That movement, that change is key. If you don't have movement or change happening between the beginning of your story and the end of the story, you have a sketch, not a story. Okay? So try and keep that basic definition in mind as you start plotting things out and thinking about what it is you really want to write about. Now, I'm going to take a quick sip. So, aside from that, short stories generally follow the same rules as novels, right? So for those of you that are already working on novels or that have been studying the art of writing fiction, all of the things that you've been learning about basically apply. Character development, dialogue, engaging the five senses in your use of setting and description, showing and not telling, right? All of those things still apply. But because of the length, the economy of words in a short story is more important than ever. So unlike in a novel, where we say things like write tight, but you still have 50,000 plus words to play with, in a short story, write tight is serious. Like write tight is your religion. You must make every word in a short story count. So let's look at basic structure and how that plays out in a short story. As with any kind of story of any length, you have your beginning. This is where your story starts. Now, again, this is a major difference between a short story and a novel. There's no prologue, right? You have no time for preambles or backstory or easing anybody in. You can devote maybe a paragraph to showing us where your character is or was before the transformation of this story is about to happen, right? Like a paragraph, but then the main thing that happens has to start. So we're getting started right away. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're jumping into action, literal physical action, things blowing up and, what have you. That can be a very effective start to a story. It doesn't have to be, but the point is whatever the main thing that happens in your story, whatever that main change or transformation is going to be for your character, the story itself needs to start at the start of that process. You can't take us back too far in time. Now, if there are details that are absolutely necessary for the reader to understand your character's present state, you can sprinkle in some of those details a little bit more organically throughout the story, but you definitely cannot devote more than like a paragraph, maybe 2 short paragraphs tops to that type of thing at the beginning of the story. You got to get right to it. Then you've got the middle. The middle is where the movement happens. Okay, all action must contribute to revealing the character's change from start to finish, whatever it is, however subtle, right? There's no added color here. Again, unlike a novel where you have space to do some fun things, to make it a more enriching, interesting experience, to build layers. You don't have room for that in a story. Every single action must relate directly to that change, to that thing that happens to your character. And then we have the end. Now, in a novel, you typically have a chapter or two to wind down after the climax of the novel. So the big moment, right? Whatever it is that you've been building toward, that will happen. And then you have what we call the denouement, which, as I mentioned, usually takes a chapter or two to wrap up the story. You don't have a chapter or two in a short story. So in the short story, The climax basically is the ending. Now, you don't want it to feel too abrupt. So again, similar to the beginning, you have about a paragraph or two to give us a hint of where the character's going next. So whatever that climax is happens at the very end. And then again, maybe a paragraph or two to sort of give the reader that sense of, okay, now the changes happen. What is next for this character? Where is this character now emotionally? That's different. It might be an open-ended type of ending that leaves the reader with interesting and intriguing questions. There are lots of ways to end a story. But the point is, your story ends basically where the story ends on the page. Now, I want to offer you a formula to help you get your head around all of this and keep things really tight. Think about character moved by action equals what happens, right? The thing that happens is the character moved by action. That's your plot. What happens, your plot, plus theme, plus tone, equals what the story is about. Okay? So plot is the actual action, the character moved by action, but what your story is about is enriched by the tone of it, what you're conveying emotionally by that tone, and the theme that you want to build into the story. Maybe one or two. You don't want a lot of themes. Now, a few more tips to help you actually get started with your story and keep it going smoothly this week. First, in a short story, you have one protagonist and a very limited cast of secondary or minor characters. Now, your one protagonist does not have to be practicing social distancing and living at home and nobody else in the story, although many great stories have been written just like that. It is okay to have other characters, but you want to keep those characters very, very limited. Primarily, this story is about your protagonist. Once you know who your protagonist is, think about who is this person, what do they really want, and what stands in their way. What stands in their way. This is going to help you get to the heart of the conflict or tension of the story. That's going to get readers really interested in that movement or change that is your what happens. Right? It will also help you to get at the theme. So when I say theme, if you're a little bit confused, that idea of who this person really is, what they really want, and what stands in their way will sort of help you back into what the theme or themes of your story might be. Remember from earlier, what happens plus theme plus tone equals what the story is about. Now, just as you have one protagonist, that means you're going to stick with one point of view. You don't have the time and space to be jumping around between different people's point of view. One protagonist, one point of view. And likewise, one central conflict in story. There's no time for subplots or red herrings or diversions in a short story, right? You want to zoom in, zoom in, zoom in on something really narrow in particular so that you can give it the full 5,000 words to develop with all of those storytelling elements. Dialogue, setting, detail, what have you. You also want to use a limited number of scenes and settings. Again, you don't want to switch around too much or you won't have time to fully develop any given scene. You probably don't want more than 5. And that's a very arbitrary number, but for those of you who are new, it will help you start to think in terms of that plot or that what happens. You don't want to have too many different scenes. You want to try to make each scene really work hard for your story and progressing your plot. Now, last but not least, if you're struggling with where to start, remember that writing often isn't linear. So start wherever you have the strongest sense of what it is that you want to say, and then work backwards or forwards from there. That will help you build momentum. Momentum is absolutely key to completing a challenge like this when you have limited time. So for example, AutoCrit provided all of you when you registered for this challenge with a fantastic PDF guide full of all kinds of writing prompts. So maybe one of those writing prompts will help you start your story. Maybe that is where your story starts. Or it might give you an idea for the ending or for the climax of your story. Whatever feels strongest in your imagination, that's where you should start. And it can be helpful to take a day just to think through your story, starting with whatever that initial idea or image is. And again, that starting might be at the end, it doesn't matter. Map out on a page any key points and use the cause and effect principle to think through what has to come before or after each moment to make that movement, that change, a logical sequence of events. So for example, if you have a really strong idea of the very last scene, think about what needs to happen immediately before that to get the character where you want them to go. Then what needs to happen before that, and so on and so forth. If you have in mind the start of the story, use that question from earlier to move you forward. Who is this person? What do they really want? And what stands in their way? You can also imagine it this way. Who is this person? What do they really want? And what change needs to happen to them or in their world for them to achieve that thing? All right. With that, I wish you all the best of luck. Have fun with it. Keep writing. Use this group for support, ideas, and more. We're going to have a little Q&A, so we'll be able to answer some of your questions. And if you're watching this recording later, I will be checking back to see if people post questions afterwards in the comments. So don't be shy about sharing your questions. We will try to answer any questions that you have in any way that I can help. And I'll see you next week with more tips on editing and revising your story.
Thank you, Ally. That was wonderful. I know I'm going to be going back and rewatching this video. We are recording it. It will be available both on YouTube and on Facebook. So really looking forward to it. I was also keeping an eye on those questions and comments as they came through on the side. First, I want to say, Beth, and you know who you are out there, with the sign that said "Go away" to her family. I love that. Fantastic. Hey, whatever it takes. Am I right? So
absolutely.
We will also have something special for you later that might soften the blow a little bit, or at least get a different kind of laugh out of them. And we'll share that in the community as we go through this challenge. A little something extra to help you secure that time and space that you need in order to write. So a couple of questions from the group. One, and I'm just going to put this up on the screen. Oh, I don't want it to tick, but I guess it's going to anyway. If you still haven't registered, you can register online at autocrit.com/story challenge. And this is the same link that you would have, that you'll use in order to enter those daily codes and get more chances to win prizes. So just a little bit of housekeeping there. One question, Ally, came up from Anthony, and he'd like to know a little bit more about standard manuscript format. Are there special things that he needs to put in there? Can you elaborate on just kind of formatting a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so first of all, I would just want to say you shouldn't worry about formatting for the purposes of this challenge, right? Like don't get hung up worrying about that type of stuff. You have a short period of time, put all your time and energy into writing and revising your story. And I suspect that there will be some guidelines posted at the end of the challenge so that if you are entering your story for the anthology contest, they will, AutoCrit, probably Beth, Beth is our go-to lady, will let you know precisely how to format and submit your manuscript file. But speaking very broadly, I can tell you that industry standard formatting is generally the same whether it's a short story or a novel. So you've got double spacing, 1-inch margins all the way around, top, bottom, left, and right. Most people prefer 12-point Times New Roman or Arial as the fonts because they are the easiest on the eye and they are the easiest to read. So those are considered the industry standard fonts. And like really that's it. I mean, where you submit it will always have different requirements as far as your personal information. Back in the day, you used to include a cover sheet with like your social security number. Nobody is asking you to do that anymore in the days of identity fraud. So when it comes time, if you decide to submit your short stories to a contest or to a journal for publication of some kind, every single one of them will have their own submission guidelines. And those submission guidelines will tell you more precisely how to add your personal information, such as your name, contact info. Oh, and one other thing I should add, you do want to insert a header or a footer that includes your last name, the full title or a portion of the title if it's very long, and a page number. And the page number traditionally goes in the upper left, or sorry, the upper right or bottom right corner for ease of flipping through. And the rest of the header can be really anywhere. It doesn't matter as long as it's in there and it's clearly visible. That's all you really need to know.
Terrific, Ally. That was really helpful. And a couple other questions have come in. Yep, just go ahead and start in Microsoft Word. We're going to be able to definitely accept that as in terms of the technical formatting. So be kind with the margins. Somebody asked if margins count, and I said yes. So be nice out there. Being able to easily read it, we're looking at getting a significant number of submissions. So have mercy. Really love that. So thinking about the genres, people have asked, can I do a children's fairy tale? Can I do a memoir? Can I do a journey of faith? Can I do whatever? Ally, do you think those can lend themselves to short story format?
Yeah, I mean, almost anything. The few things you probably wouldn't be able to do would be like a picture book. You're not really writing actually 5,000 words is way too long for a children's picture book. So probably not that. But yeah, almost any other genre I can think of. Certainly there are short story collections out there and journals that publish short stories of almost any type.
That's fantastic. Yep, we've had a few people ask about that, and I think it's going to translate really well. I see a couple more comments, double spacing, 10 point or 12 point. Usually 12. Double spacing would be terrific, and we'll take that forward. The spirit of the challenge is to write a short story in 14 days. So I'm just going to share my screen really quickly again for some last minute kind of reinforcement. The goal of this challenge, well, first and foremost, is to have fun. The spirit is to really push ourselves and really time bind that creativity and focus our energies to write a short story from start to finish within those 14 days. I know some people in the community were so excited. They may have started writing yesterday or the day before, and that's totally okay. It's kind of within that spirit. But if you've really kind of already finished a novel and you just want to edit it down and send that in, it doesn't really go with the spirit of the challenge. I mean, we're not going to know any different, but I really want to inspire you to push yourself for these 14 days and get a new story out there. And of course, the technology we've talked about, the genres we've talked about. So I want to make sure that we're respectful of everyone's time. We are at 32 minutes. Guys, we have 202 viewers. And I don't think that even counts me and Ally. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, now my boss is going to make the bar be super high for next time. And speaking of next time, that will be on April 14th. Ally, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So as we mentioned, it's not a hard rule that you have to write in the first week and edit in the second week, but we are going to be back on Tuesday of the second week to talk a little bit about the process of editing and revising your story. So it's okay if you get there, if it's Tuesday and you're still writing, don't feel like you can't come. It's still going to be helpful to you. But I'm going to offer, just like I did today, just a little bit of mindset to help you get in the right place mentally and emotionally to dive back into all that good stuff you've been writing in the beginning of the challenge, and some concrete tips to help you revise and polish it up for yourself, for publication, and for the contest.
Fantastic. Well, I don't know about you, Ally, but I am really excited about this. How about you?
I am. This is super fun. I can't wait to see what you guys put together.
Yeah, I've seen some great conversations happening already, so I'm really looking forward to reading all the submissions. Thanks, everybody, for your time. Ally, thank you so much from the Writers Ally here joining us today live from AutoCrit. We appreciate it. This recording will be available online, and if we didn't get to your questions in the chat, we will definitely follow up with you online, either via YouTube comment or through our Facebook community. Y'all have a great day, and we will see you next time.